Back in 2023, I made a decision that completely transformed my life. I chose to move across to the other side of the world and just go. But this isn't just a story about moving countries. It's about what happens when you finally give yourself permission to change everything. Let me paint you a picture of where I was. London, 2022. I was tired, burnt out, demotivated, and struggling in a city that no longer felt like home. My body was on high alert the majority of the day. The constant busyness of the city, the relentless stress at work, and the underground commute packed shoulder to shoulder with strangers. And this wasn't just regular tiredness, this was full-blown burnout that took me over a year to recover from. I desperately needed to change, but my body was stuck in freeze mode. It took me 10 months just to work up the courage to quit my job, and then another 6 months to finally make the decision to move abroad. Looking back now, I can see that I needed more than just a new routine or a new hobby. My life needed a complete shake-up, something big enough to disrupt the pattern that I was stuck in. Moving abroad didn't just change my location, it completely rewired how I think about life, success, and what actually matters. Here's what I learned. It's okay to have different phases of your life. You don't need to be focused on work or productivity 100% of the time. When I first arrived in Australia, I gave myself permission to just exist. I explored the new city, spent slow days down by the beach with a book, and watched sunsets and sunrises. I did absolutely nothing productive, and that's what I needed, to just exist in the moment. In London, I was trapped in the concept of constantly climbing the career ladder. I believed that taking a break or time off would collapse my career, but it didn't. When I first arrived in Australia, I worked in a retail store for a few months, something that I was technically overqualified for, and others might have seen as a step backwards or career disruptor. But here's what that job gave me: reduced hours, less brain-taxing tasks, and a clock in, clock out mentality. No emails at 10 p.m, no Sunday scaries, and no taking my laptop with me, just in case. That space, the mental, physical, and emotional breathing room, is what allowed me to finally recover from the stress cycle that I'd got stuck in. Now I have the healthiest work-life balance that I've had in my career, and I'm working better and coming up with more innovative ideas, because I'm not running on empty anymore. Learning to enjoy your own company. Moving to a new country where I didn't know anyone forced me to confront something that I'd been avoiding: being alone with myself. Back in London, having no plans would send me into a frantic panic. I'd message group chats, look for events that were going on, or book last-minute lunches. Anything to avoid that empty calendar. But in Australia, I learned to relish the opportunities and spontaneity that came with a quiet weekend with no plans. I have a much smaller social circle here than I did in London. Because of that, I've gotten more comfortable with doing things on my own. Solo coffee dates at my favourite cafe, going down to the beach with just a book and a towel, or quiet gym sessions where I'm fully present in my own head. Stop spending money on things you don't value. So many of my plans in London centred around going out for expensive meals or drinks in the city, and that was just the default. It's what everyone did. £15 cocktails, £40 on brunch, or £100 on an expensive dinner. When I sat down and actually listed out the things that I enjoy, like getting out in nature, going on day trips, exploring new places, and spending quality time with friends and family, I realised that my money wasn't being spent in the right way. Moving to Australia forced me into a new outdoorsy lifestyle. A big part of Australian culture is waking up early, getting outside in nature, and enjoying the sunshine and the sea. I didn't default to the expensive restaurants and bars because it was so much easier to lean into the culture that was already here. I rebuilt my social life from scratch around things that I actually valued. Some of my favourite weekends cost absolutely nothing. A coastal walk, a picnic at the beach, or a road trip to a national park. I'm spending less of my income on the day-to-day, which has allowed me to save more of the things that I truly value and enjoy. And before, care a little bit less, in a good way. A lot of the stress that I was holding on to in London came from caring too much about doing the perfect job, showing up as a good friend, and meeting everyone's expectations. I'm not saying I'm a cold-hearted, careless person now, but moving abroad gave me perspective. When you're 10,000 miles away from everything familiar, you realise it doesn't matter if you're perfect. Your colleagues will survive if you're not online at 7 p.m, and your friends will still love you even if you can't make every single event. I've learned to balance my needs with those of others. I still do a really good job at work, but I don't push myself past my limits. I schedule in downtime to recover and reset, and I protect my energy. Here's a paradox. This has actually allowed me to be better at everything. Because I'm filling up my cup first, I have more to give. I'm a better employee, a better friend, and a better version of myself. Not in spite of caring less, but because of it. Here's what moving country really taught me. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is give yourself permission to start over. Not because everything is broken, not because you failed, but because you're not growing and thriving where you currently are. Moving abroad gave me the ability to question the shoulds that I was living by, redesign my life around what actually matters to me, recover from burnout instead of just pushing through it, and build a life that is aligned to my values. Now, I'm not saying that everyone needs to move to the other side of the world. That was my big decision. That might not be yours. But I am saying this. If you're feeling stuck, burnt out, or like you're living someone else's version of success, then you do have permission to make a change. A real one, not a new skincare routine or a productivity app. A real, disruptive, uncomfortable change. Because sometimes this change is what we need to recognize ourselves and rebuild our life to one where we're thriving, not just surviving. If you want to know more about the mindset that gave me the confidence to make this big, bold move, then you might enjoy this video here.